Hello, this is Frank Falvey with Frank's Musings. I just kind of off the top of my head talk about different things. And I'm going to begin with part two of the October 7th Hamas killing of Jewish settlements and a music festival. And as Israel declared, they declared war on Hamas. So let's talk about, they were unambiguous that it was going to be a war, not a tit for tat, but an all-out, full-fledged war against Hamas. And their reasoning was that they were attacked first and a number of their citizens were killed. So they have a strong military capability, a capability certainly that Hamas was not going to be able to fight against or really have much impact against. The Israel position seems to be that Jewish citizens are special and sacrosanct, and anyone that would dare kill a Jewish citizen is evil, and that act was evil, but they have a right to just indiscriminately bomb, indiscriminately wage war on a military presence that compared to them is non-existent. So they went and they leveled Gaza. They bombed it to pieces. They used every mortar and shell just to hit targets that they say there was missiles are firing from. Regardless of citizens, regardless of children, women, men who were not anywhere near part of the October 7th raid on Israel by Hamas. They had, in my opinion, an option. They could do what they did and raise the specter of hatred among Jews and Arabs to set the world back. They could bring us to the brink of war, and they could solidify the hatred of the Arabs against the Jews and the Jews against the Arabs. And they did that. They totally indiscriminately bombed the heck out of Gaza with no regard to civilian life. Now, I am not excusing the fact that Hamas had possible tunnels and underground bunkers and were firing some missiles from different buildings within the Gaza. That was also evil, and that was also wrong. The fact that aid, humanitarian aid, was not allowed into the fighting area. The fact that they could have gone street by street with their tanks and armored vehicles, and they could have flooded the tunnels with water. Why didn't they do that? In my opinion, for one reason and one reason only, because it would have killed more of the military. More of this military soldiers and people invading Gaza would have been killed in that scenario as opposed to the scenario of just killing everyone regardless of where they were or who they were. Israel, the state, has raised the specter of a much wider war, which I believe was one of the main purposes of the attack to begin with. Hamas would, some reason not logical, doesn't make any sense, but for some reason wanted to have a wider conflict. That conflict appears to be growing. That conflict has now cost the United States 3 military enlisted persons in the, I don't know which branch of service they were in, but they were American military citizens. So the United States, whenever, like Israel, whenever soldiers are killed, the specter of war and retaliation rises exponentially. We are now trying to defend shipping in that Mediterranean area and sea. We are launching strikes against rebels that, my understanding, are no more than just gangs of thugs, but are supplied and backed by high countries that have a lot of money and have a lot of equipment that they can give to these thugs. Do we really want a Middle East all-out war? And what sides are people going to take? And what is the anger and the animosity that will last for years as a result of it? I don't know the answer. I do know Israel took they took characteristic action for the state of Israel, but they didn't care about what they did and the ramifications that they knew would be coming out of it. The United States has always supported Israel, but at this point, the bombing, indiscriminate killing of Palestinians, citizens, I believe the United States is on the wrong side, on the wrong position internationally that they are seeking. Many different countries of the world have condemned what Israel has done. Many people do not see what they did as unethical, see what they did as inappropriate, when they could have accomplished their goal in another manner. As I say, this is more or less not scripted, but off the top of my head. The Biden administration seems to have tried and somewhat successfully postponed the slaughter that happened, but they seem to be at an impasse of convincing Israel to be more moderate. Israel seems to have achieved their objective. At least a ceasefire seems to be a reasonable position to be taken. I don't know. It doesn't seem militarily any longer to be a situation where the state of Israel can't control Gaza, where a ceasefire, although it would probably accomplish a lot in lowering the tension in that area, will not decide the issues of Gaza in and of itself. Well, I don't know what more to say except a discussion around this international situation needs to be more public. It needs to have more sides and views presented. At the beginning, right after through, I don't know, October in November, I think I only saw two Palestinian commentators being interviewed on cable or TV. There did not seem to be any representatives of the Palestinian positions or what was happening. We need on cable stations and more reasonable discussions of what is going on, what is behind all of this, and what is a more reasonable solution for the United States to change its policy uh, as regard to Israel. What that change uh, can accomplish, I think, is a lot. It can accomplish not going to a wider war in the Middle East. Well, going on to a couple of other topics, I am not a supporter of the Biden administration or Kamala Harris and Joe Biden to be reelected as president and vice president. Uh, from the beginning, that administration has followed up the withdrawal uh, from Pakistan, from the war with the Taliban. They have followed up pouring tons of money into the economy for COVID purposes and for into United States roads and structures and bridges, and they practically gave away as much as they could to whoever they liked. And in fact, they gave away so much money that they couldn't even spend it all and cut back some of that in a deal to lower the spending. The debt of the United States is causing us to be less of a power in the world. That debt is only growing. China is financing the United States. China is now the creditor of the world. And what happens is debtor nations fade away and credit nations take over. We cannot have the Biden administration reelected. I would suggest on March 5th there's going to be a primary in Massachusetts, and there is a credible alternative on the ballot named Dean Phillips. I don't know much about Dean, except he's a representative in Congress. I would encourage you to go to his official website and learn as much as you can about Dean and whether you feel he uh, represents an alternative to the Biden administration, and would ask that you consider voting for Dean on March 5th, at least to show that there is disaffection with Biden, not only because of his age and health, but because of his policies. In particular, the policy on immigration. Nothing has really happened during that administration until the present day, when the senators of both sides seem to have come to an agreement, a negotiated in good faith agreement on a beginning of how to control the border. This agreement has not satisfied everyone, particularly the progressives on the Democratic side, but Joe Biden has indicated he would sign a bill like this. Well, apparently Donald Trump, in his re-election in the sense that he was president once before, and he's running to be president again. He seems to want the immigration issue as a political issue only because he believes it will help his candidacy. So he is sacrificing a possible reasonable solution to the immigration policy and postponing any possibility of it being passed for the sake of a political issue in an election campaign, which to me, among other things, show his lack of ability to be president. So we have two individuals that should not be the next president of the United States. So we need to decide what is an alternative. We seem to have an election by polls. Only 14% of the Republican Party in Iowa voted. 14%. I'm not sure what the percentage was in New Hampshire, but we have very small numbers. I guess Trump has 32 delegates to the Republican convention, and Nikki Haley has 17. The campaign should be going on. The campaign shouldn't be as tied to money as it is, and we shouldn't be deciding because of polls. It seems that what is deciding who the nominees are going to be our polls that are taken of certain citizens, and not a whole lot, but a smaller number of citizens are polled, and those are presented as, feats accomplished. That Biden and Trump, because of the polls, should be nominated. No, that's not the democracy that I'm familiar with. The democracy I'm familiar with is going to the polls, having actual voters voting at the polls, have a campaign, yes, that has always been influenced by money, but also by local people talking and hashing out who the better candidates are. Well, going to a different subject, more local. The arts community here in Franklin is a very strong community. And on Wednesday, you can get an arts and culture listing of what's happening in the next week. We just had an MLK celebration of Dean, the president of Dean College, doing a discussion group. We've had the movie Selma shown, and we've had the Dean College at the chapel have a musical and spoken word presentation. We also had Ben Franklin week. We had the reading of the autobiography of Ben Franklin. We had an explanation of the books of Ben Franklin. I think we have reached a point that we have such a wide and diverse community. If someone out there would love to head up a TV weekly interview with people from that community, if you would like to get into television, where you would like to help promote the arts, I think there's enough people in Franklin out there that would really enjoy someone bringing that together and putting it on the Access television station here. Well, I probably right now don't have a whole lot more to say. So this has been a very short Frank's musings, but I do hope to see you on a more regular basis because of this political season and all of the stuff that's happening around Franklin. So this is Frank Falvey with his musings saying, I hope you have some reflection on the situations both locally and internationally, and look into what the actual facts of what's going on. I would also, in a way, recommend there is a movie out called The Anatomy of a Fall. I particularly didn't care for the movie, but it was an excellent movie in the sense of they presented facts of what the situation was and happened about a person that fell from his chalet and died. And the argument was this a suicide, or was this the wife murdering the husband? And all through the movie, mostly, it was an argument from both sides using the same basis and facts. And you really had a hard time trying to figure out which one was correct, because the arguments were well presented, the acting was superb, there were scenes that were dramatic. If you were a dramatic woman actress or man actress, this was the movie to be in. And it was well written and thought out. It is difficult. It is difficult to take facts, to look at them, and trying to make sense of what is behind. You know, there was a fella that used to have a radio program, and his name is now escaping me, that used to end the program or begin the program with, "Now here's the rest of the story." What is the rest of the story with the Israel conflict with Gaza? You know, what is the rest of the story behind two candidates that the majority of citizens don't want as president? You know, what is the rest of the story locally that you can see and get emails every day from the Franklin Observer or from Franklin Matters, and you can be informed. And those two emails daily present locally issues and happenings that not only would you enjoy going to, but issues that inform you as to more of the background and more of what's happening in the Franklin area. Hope to see you again. My name is Frank Falvey, and I've just done some musings from the top of my head. Thank you.
This program was made possible by your Franklin friends and neighbors, good folks just like you. Thanks for supporting Franklin TV. And thanks for watching.